All right. Hey, shalom, shalom. Hey, first and foremost, want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakodash. All right. Double honors to the apostles, elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to you, Akim, pushing the work in truth and in sincerity. All right. Coming back with another lesson. All right. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. Kind of want to just touch on this article really quick. All right. And of course, the name of this lesson is and spake as a dragon. All right. And that's dealing with Revelations 13. All right, we're going to touch on that. But as you can see, Esau, all right, you've been paying attention, of course. You know, they're making their moves. All right. And I heard about this a few weeks back, maybe a month back. All right, where Donald Trump is trying to suspend habeas corpus. All right. And habeas corpus pretty much protects, uh, the citizens from being detained without a real reason. All right. Let's see here, just so you have it. All right, because hey, um, we're coming into some real times, man. All right. I mean, the only thing, really, what I wanted to point out is that this is the talking points among the elite, and so if they're talking, you know, uh, if they're talking like this, it really means something. And these scriptures came up, all right, because the end is drawing nigh, as we know. It's closer than what you think. All right, Esau is moving. All right, and this proves that the white man is definitely Esau. Okay, he's not Japhet. Okay, this is impossible because Japhet plays no part. Plays a very insignificant role in future prophecy. All right, and hell, we're at the end. Okay, so habeas corpus is a legal principle and a fundamental right in many democratic systems, right? Especially those influenced by English common law. The term is Latin for you shall have the body, and it refers to a person's right to challenge the legality of their detention or imprisonment. All right. The purpose is to protect individuals from unlawful detention by the state. And see, they want to use this for homeborn citizens. All right. So yeah, at first it was about the immigrants, right? But we always knew that there it was a hidden agenda. All right. And we knew they were going to go after you Jakes, man. All right. And this spells Jacob's trouble. All right. This has Jacob's trouble written all over it. Okay. Some things that you can, pretty much take from this. All right. So this is what the elite are talking about, right? But I'm gonna read a little bit. I'm gonna play this and then because you had this dumb Edomite said it was the right of the president to, but here I'll play it. I'm sure brothers already caught this. All right. Uh-oh.
So, Secretary Noam, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has.
Wrong. All right. Wrong. And these devils are proud, right? Where they believe their own bullshit. Okay. And that's what you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more of these proud Edomites, man. But and most of these Edomites they're with this whole New World Order. All right. Believe it or not. Okay. They're going to be with it. Okay. Because it pretty much preserves their way of life. Okay.
To be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus.
Can you imagine that though? They're they're not even immigrants. They're I don't even want to use this term squatter, but they're invaders. All right. Okay. But she gonna correct her dumb ass.
Excuse me, that's incorrect. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides?
And right, and that's why, I named this and spake as a dragon. All right, because this is going to be in the guise of, protecting people's, liberty, security for these Edomites here who've, who the immigrants have came in and taken over and brought crime, and this is out of their mouths. All right. And what they don't really realize is that tyranny, all right, is the remedy for their security. All right. If that makes sense. Tyranny is the remedy for keeping Babylon secure. All right. And they're going to rein it in. They're going to rein in tyranny. And guess what? You tribes are going to be the ones that they're going after. All right. Very plain and simple. Okay. And so, as you can see, it's really desperation. That's what it looks like as well. But it goes back to the precept, Revelations 12:12. They're going to come down with great wrath because they know it, but that they have a short time. All right.
Provides that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone.
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let
been,
us be clear, though,
it
that
has
this
never
president,
been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Right. All right. Hold on. See something, because I don't want this video to play. But yeah, as you can see, man, the desperation of Esau, you can see it, man. All right. And they're desperate to eradicate everybody else. All right. And I've heard, I don't know how true it is. They're giving incentives to to white families to have babies or something like that. I'm not sure about. I heard something on that. I'm not too sure, but just going to the point, that this devil is speaking as a dragon. All right, Revelations 13 and 11, it says, and I beheld, all right, another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. All right, and I went into this last night. All right, because when you look at it, the two horns, all right, represents the two-party system. Okay, the two-party system, which the first beast before the deadly wound, right, it was the Roman Empire. You had the plebei and the patricians. It was a two-party system, and they had a senate. Okay, and America resembles that, and in fact, America is a rendition. All right, I know they use that term in music, but it's the spawn, okay, of the Roman Empire. So it says here for the word horn is keras.
Strong's G 2768, keras. Keras.
All right, and I'm gonna point this part out. It says the horn with the Hebrews and other nations is a symbol of strength and courage. All right, and used as such in a variety of phrases. A mighty and valiant helper. All right, because this is what they do. This is how they present themselves in politics, as a mighty and valiant helper. All right, the author of deliverance. Okay, they're all about helping the people. All right, doing things for the people. This is of the Messiah, and they present themselves as somewhat of a Messiah. Okay, because that's what these Edomites in politics do. All right, so two horns like a lamb. All right, and this is the word for horn. All right, it don't have a primitive root, so we'll keep going. All right, So, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns, two-party system. The horn, and that horn, all right, is presenting itself like a valiant helper, as it said, right? And it says like a lamb, okay, because a lamb, all right, is subtle, soft. It's not threatening, okay. It's a lamb ain't threatening, okay. But it says, and he spake as a dragon, okay. So they're talking about, and they've been talking about it. There's plenty of talking points where you catch these Edomites talking about detaining homeborn citizens, shipping them off to another country. All right, getting rid of the immigrants who do worse. I mean, who do most of the work. All right, and their talking points is toward the immigrants as if all of them are criminals. All right, and that's how Esau rolls. All right. So Salaki, it says, and he spake as a dragon. Okay, so let's go to this word dragon, Dracon. All right, and we, the elders go over this all the time. All right, and it's becoming more clear. Okay, in this two horn like a lamb, this two-party system, they are speaking as a dragon. All right, so the Hebrew word
Strong's G 1404. Drakon. Drakon.
and I'm draconian. But I'm gonna get this and cue this up really quick because there's some things I want to point out because it's exactly what this beast is doing. All right, America, is that part of that beast? All right, it says a dragon, a serpent, a name for Satan. Okay, which that's true. All right. In fact, let's see here. I looked it up in Chat GPT. All right, I asked what is the symbolism for a dragon, right? And it says behavior and intelligence, highly intelligent, often wiser and more cunning than humans. All right, guardian of treasure. Western dragons are frequently shown hoarding gold and precious artifacts. As you can apply that to America. Prideful or arrogant, many dragons view themselves as superior beings. Solitary, typically live alone in remote mountains, caves. Who's a caveman? All right, or underwater layers. Okay, but here's the point here: symbolism. Western cultures, often evil or destructive. Okay, represent chaos, greed. All right, and who represents greed more than American society? All right, every nation in the world knows that America is a greedy nation. All right, especially dealing with politics. All right, it says, or challenges to be overcome, slain by heroes and myth. Okay, here, Eastern culture. Let me see. Here we go. This is better. Western symbolism, Europe, Christian tradition. It says evil or sin. All right, and what society is more evil and sinful than this society, America? All right, there ain't one. Okay, this society influences the rest of the world to be evil and sinful. All right, since dragons are often enemies of saints. All right, and in this society are enemies to the saints. All right, the Israelites. Okay, it says in heroes. Okay, the main hero. All right, is the main protagonist is Yahushua, and they're against Yahushua. They're anti-Hamashiach. All right, or as the world says, anti-Christ, because they're against the establishment of a righteous government, a righteous rule in the earth. All right. It says symbolizing the devil, temptation, or sin. All right. Okay. Chaos and destruction, seen as primal forces of nature that must be tamed or destroyed. How much more than America? All right. It got America written all over it. Okay. So when you read Revelation 13:11, so let's go back. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, All right, meaning basically it began to rule over man. All right, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. All right, we're seeing that play out, and it's going to become a reality. Okay, so Slakia. All right, greed is as frequently depicted hoarding treasure, symbolizes great. Okay, and materialism, heroism. All right, slaying a dragon represents conquering inner demons or great. Okay, power and terror. Here we go. This is the one I want right here. Whatever. Power and terror. It says embody brute force, tyranny, or overwhelming odds, and that's what this government is going to bring. All right, they're going to bring tyranny and overwhelming odds. Okay. All right. Here it says, what's in the, and this is back in the news article. This is Newsweek. Thomas G. Malkawash, Mountwasher, whatever. It says, what's in a word like invasion? The one the Trump administration is tossing around in connection with the Alien Enemies Act. All right. And the writ of habeas corpus. After all, don't Americans share a common understanding of what an invasion is? Apparently not. And that should worry us. People have been abusing that what words mean for years. Yeah, so new speech. All right. It says the word emergency has been abused by both political parties for decades since the 1970s. The federal government has declared 31 emergencies that remain in effect today. Why? All right, because ultimately it was for an agenda that they have. Okay, and they've been amending and doing certain things with certain policies over the years, so that what they can bring in, because there's a finality to it all. All right, they want to bring in a full onslaught, overwhelming odds, as we just read. All right, in the chat GPT concerning the symbolism of the dragon. All right, is speaking, and they're going to speak as one. All right, so they have. It says the federal government has declared 31 emergencies, right, that remain in effect today, right, and those emergency it really ain't no emergency right now. All right, except for the ones that, the ones that they're trying to fool everyone into believing. Okay, except for the generated ones in which they have generated. Okay, it says permanent states of emergency are bad. They mean we can't tell a real emergency from an ordinary policy. That's right. And look at them. They're the devil, destroying everything with a smile. All right, and they can proudly be the devil with a smile. All right, it says in some word abuse, must be laid at the door of the Democrats too. All right, to some of them, diversity too often meant anybody but white men. Equity meant justice for some at the expense of others. Inclusion to many on the far left, all right, meant inclusion of races and genders out of favor. The rhetoric wasn't explicit, right? So it's ambiguous, all right, to say the least, meaning it doesn't mean what it implies, okay? And this thing is all set up in deception and corruption. That's why this place is falling, all right? Because at the very root of this society is complete corruption, all right? It's extortion, it's exploitation, all right? So what do you think the latter end is going to be? The same, all right? It says the rhetoric wasn't explicit, but the results were on display for all to see. It was an Achilles heel for Democrats, and Republicans put an arrow through it. All right. but Trump's abuse of the notion of an invasion, right? So they got to justify the means. So they throw those words out there to, you know, it's essentially like crying wolf. You know, it's like a woman, you know, who is who's fabricating uh, circumstances in a event to to eventually hurt somebody or railroad someone. All right, that's what this is like unto, but this is on a greater scale. All right. It says makes okay. So look mild by comparison. It says it's no surprise no one has been more willing to whip the truth out of a word than Donald Trump. It says Trump uses his social media, Truth Social, to be viciously antisocial and utterly untruthful. And that's these devil. That's why they call the devil, because devil just means deceiver, liar. All right. Trump became the first president to label a clear election loss and a landslide win with violence at the U.S. Capitol as a result. And okay, so let's get to let's see here. Here it says that's in part here. I'll start here. That's in part because that word invasion still has some work to do in the eyes of Trump and his henchmen. This work is far more sinister. It is a direct attack on habeas corpus, which protects the rights of citizens. All right, because the actual truth is that they're gonna go after the poor. All right, they're gonna go after the poor, and mainly, and when we say poor, we're talking about you tribes. We're talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is setting the stage for them to come after you and to detain. All right, detain you. All right, going door to door, you know, taking you out your house, and probably most likely throwing you into an internment camp. All right. Okay. All right. It says the words that for 800 years have been the greatest bulwark against tyranny and legal systems descended from the English common law. Right. So that comes from the English and it's over 800 years old. All right. And no president in the United States has pretty much used this. All right. But now they're about to use it because what? They're about to come down with great wrath on you tribes. So this whole fight against immigration and, you know, getting these, because let these Edomites say it, all immigrants are criminals. That's how they put it, because they have to justify, in a way, they have to justify the means. They have to justify their tyranny, right? So they're throwing out all these big ass words, all right, in order to what? In order to, you know, control the narrative, all right, and to put people in shock and awe, and to convince people that this is a good thing, that this is okay. Okay, but they don't understand it. All right. This has greater means behind it. All right. It says Trump officials know. Let me see. Okay, it says the right to file a writ of habeas corpus in court is the right to challenge your arrest. All right. And these devils don't want you to challenge it. All right. And they get mad when you know the law. All right. It says it is what keeps people from disappearing in the night when they displease, right, the executive branch of government. So who do you really think they're going to come after? Okay. Those who are essentially speaking against, you know, the establishment. All right. It says if you can't get a court to stop a tyrant from arresting you, no American's life or property is safe. Right. So these Edomites, and they know who they are. They know who we are. All right. And ultimately, they want to come down with great wrath. As the scriptures say, they want to get rid of you Jakes. All right. And they want to preserve their life, their way. their standard, which is what ultimately is the New World Order. Okay. Okay, it says Revelations 12:12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right, and these devils know they have a short time because what? They're really being squeezed out of humanity. All right, their birth rate is low. They don't have any offspring as the other nations, as you know, mainly the tribes. All right, they don't have, so they're dying out. Okay, that's one reason. The other reason they're seeing the main reason is that we're risen up and we are awoken and kind of broken from the hypnosis that we've been under. Okay, we have broken from their chains that they had on our minds. All right, and so they're afraid because they always knew in the back of their head, what if, they were able to do to us what we have done to them. Okay. All right. So it says that. So what are they going to do in response in order to maintain and preserve their way of life? Well, they're going to have to weed out everything that offends in their society. All right. Because, you got Edomites talking about black exhaustion or fatigue. All right. And that's the talking point among so-called whites right now. All right. They're tired of so-called blacks. And they're not just tired of blacks. They're tired of you so-called Latinos and Native Americans as well. Why? Because they can't live in a society. And it's not as if we're detriment to them. It's just that they cannot live among other people in the world without destroying them, without raping them, without murdering, without robbing them for their resources. This devil is all over the planet, taking everything at will. Okay. All right. So I didn't want to skip over this dragon, right? So I wanted to go into draconian. All right. Because this is going to be the rule. All right. This is going to be the new society that we're entering into, and it's going to get bad, man. Draconian. It says here, pertaining to Draco, ancient Greek statesman. All right, 1777, in reference to laws, rigorous, extremely severe, or harsh. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about beefing up policing. All right, these are talking points of Trump. All right. All right. He's talking about giving the police immunity. Oops. Okay. These are real discussions. These are real things that they're putting into play. Okay. And they just cut spending. All right. With the Doge and Elon Musk is talking about he's done enough. He's stepping down because they set up the AI to start regulating expenses. And they start cutting, social programs, and they're gonna fuel other programs like policing. All right. Trump promises to give police immunity from persecution. All right. In other words, if police decide to shoot someone unarmed, right, they can't be fired. They probably won't even have to have a leave of absence with pay. They probably stay on the force and stay active in duty. Who knows? All right, breaking down the Trump immunity decision. Okay. So Trump claims of immunity from persecution for his past actions as president. Nah. Trump's newest executive order unleashes the cops and flirts with martial law. All right, if y'all thought it was a game, all right, this ain't a game. This is the real deal Holyfield, and these Edomites are moving. whether you want to see it, whether you want to recognize it or not. Okay. All right. And but everybody else is worried about, you know, the wrong thing when really you're supposed to be watching what this devil is doing. The scriptures talk about in Ephesians. Let me get it. All right. Be circumspect. Okay. And that's why we have to move a certain way. We got to move in honesty. We got to move, of course, in faith. All right. The just shall live by faith. Okay. We can't be reckless. Can't do, can't live life. And you gotta, it's coming down to the point where you're going to have to do things by the fucking book, man, whether you like it or not. That means put on your goddamn seatbelt while you're driving. Right? So they don't have a reason to pull your ass over. All right. Granted, you might have everything in order. You might have, insurance, license, all of that type of stuff, but they can find a reason, man. And they've had in past time, you know how Esau does it, man. All right. Ephesians 5:15, it says, see then that you walk circumspectly and not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Right. And we live in a time where we're going to have to pay our debts. We live in a time where we're going to have to do those things. And more importantly, this is hell. All right. This ain't heaven. Okay. And so you got to know that. All right. This is wherefore be not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. All right. So redeeming the time because the days are evil. Okay. And so let's look this word up, redeeming. Okay, because their war is against the poor. Their war is against those that can't defend themselves. And this is how this devil works. The scriptures talk about they cease not unless they've done some mischief or something like that. All right. They're not satisfied unless they've done some mischief, So here, word for redeem.
Strong's G 1805. Exagorazo. Exagorazo.
All right. And Salaki, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but, be therefore circumspect. Circumspect meaning to see all around you. All right. And to redeem the time, it says to redeem. Here, I'm going to just hit the points. It says to buy up for oneself. All right. And how you buy up, it really is the time that you spend. All right. It says for one's use, to make wise and sacred use of every opportunity for doing good, so that zeal and well-doing are, as it were, the purchase money by which we make the time our own. All right. Okay. Okay. So you buying up the time to do what? All right. Get yourself right, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. The Lord is about to unleash this devil, man, for his purpose. And his purpose is what? All right. The Lord is going to use these devils to punish. Okay. You're going to use them for tyranny so that he can bring them into judgment. All right. The Lord is about to seek an occasion, or has sought an occasion against you, Jakes and Esau, but he's going to use Esau to punish Jake. Remember, the scriptures say, judgment shall begin at the house of the Lord. All right. Okay. So Revelation 6:4, and there went out, and this is the will of the Lord. And there went out another horse that was red. All right. We already know that horse represents power. That red represents Esau. Okay. Because he is the red man. All right. And that's a sign for those who can see and who can hear and understand. Right. We know that the society is ran by who? The Rothschild. Red. Roths going to red. Child goes into shield. All right. Okay. It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon. So, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. That's Esau. Okay. And that goes back. This sword goes back to the blessing that he was given, all right, by his father Isaac, and his descendants inherited that. Okay. And they're living out their blessing right now as we speak. Okay. That's why they're able to move and posture themselves in the world the way they are. Okay. That's why they're able to speak as a dragon. All right. Okay. So going back to draconian, rigorous, extremely severe, or harsh. And look, man, they're separating families, locking up kids. Esau is really diabolical. They have no mercy. All right. This is a nation that has no mercy. Okay. And that's why mercy is not going to be shewed them in the time of their calamity. The Lord is going to completely wipe them out with absolutely no mercy, you know? So these are the times to very well consider. Because if you thought we had time, we ain't got time. We ain't no time on the board. Ain't no more time left. Ain't no more time left. Jake, ain't no more time left. Ain't no more time for you to fuck around and fuck off and live recklessly. It's time to get active within building up your spiritual mainframe, because boy, do we have a war to fight. We have a war to fight. We have a battle to win. Okay. Or we have a battle within us right now. We have to be as pilgrims, as the scriptures say. All right. And we got to follow these precepts, these instructions, because this is a manual for survival. This is a manual for salvation. All right. And we need to treat it as such. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. Esau he ain't playing no games, man. All right. They're going to bring in martial law. All right. And it's going to be in the guise of getting rid of the criminals. And guess what? They're going to start. They're going to make you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And now the scopeo is going to be on you so-called Negroes, you darkies, you black motherfuckers. The scopeo is going to be on you, and you're going to be the face of evil. And you are. You pass the deeds of the wicked. You're the ones out here over sexualized and violent. And now they have the action behind the data and shit. All right. You niggas are going mad. You heard back when I was young, when I was a youngster, you had this thing called girls going wild, right? But you got niggas going wild, and they pretty much portray that whole persona, and it's really fucking disgusting what these niggas are doing. It's disgusting what black folk are doing. All right. Because they're air, and the scriptures say the whole head is sick. All right. What leaders are falling in the street. Ain't no leaders, man. You got these groups, the Israelite groups of fucking turn. They're in league with Esau. Just you wait, and you're gonna see it. You're gonna see even Israelite camps or organizations. That's what they are, because they 501c3 charter, right? They're Islamic, under the Islamic flag. They're organizations now. All right, and guess what? They're gonna be a helping hand to the government. Watch how the tide turns right in these times, man. But with that, Lord willing, it was edifying. I just wanted to point that out through the Spirit. I'm sure brothers have come across it, but for those who haven't, there you go. They're not playing, man. And as we can see, we're able to discern and able to put two and two together. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.